The main thing about Bitcoin is when we go through these cycles, usually what we see is after the Bitcoin halving, usually have a few months play out. And then what you do is you get a kind of a supply scarcity. What you've got to remember with Bitcoin is there's a lot of long-term holders. So myself, I've been in Bitcoin since about 2016. I think we're in a really good position with Bitcoin.
As the market tumbles, the cryptocurrency space is in turmoil. Everybody's panicking, running for the hills. Everybody on eToro seems to want to be selling the stock market. Altcoin season seems to be over. Bitcoin doesn't exist anymore. Ethereum has crashed and it will never come back. Everybody's panicking. Everybody's freaking out, but the reality is completely different. We have here Steven, or the approachable investor as some people call him, or people know him for his podcast, Achieving Alpha. Yes, that's right, Steven. He's investing since 2016, popular investor since 2020, and he's going to talk to us about what projects he's looking at, what we're going to see in the near future. Hopefully we can learn something. Hopefully we can make some money. That would be even better. Check out his portfolio. It's in the link below, but we're going to have a discussion. Today we're going to be talking about crypto projects. What are the important ones and what should we be paying attention? Taking away the innovation versus the total smoke and snake salesmen in the space. We're going to talk about the risks, the challenges, and the outlook in the market. Last but not least, we're going to talk about investor sentiment and what consideration he's making in his own portfolio so you can learn. Because the beauty of eToro is that you can actually see what people are trading. Put your money where your mouth is. Welcome, Steven.
Welcome, Nestor. Thank you very much for inviting me on. I'm really looking forward today to chatting with you more about the market. As you said, everybody else is panicking, but I'm staying calm. I think I've been in crypto for long enough now to know when you need to stay calm and when you need to look forward.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because in moments like this, when the market is panicking, you know, usually you should be very, very happy when markets get like this because you're starting to set your targets. Your price targets should already be set. You should already know exactly what projects you want to get into, what companies you want to buy. As the market tumbles, many people are selling at discount prices, and nobody loves more a Black Friday deal than myself. You know. So yeah. In this is the case in crypto right now, and it seems in the whole market. You know, as Trump sort of like scares the market into submission, we are getting to a point where a lot of companies are starting to look appealing. You know, yeah. So let's get started. So we need to start the program by talking about the granddaddy of all of the cryptocurrencies, and we're talking about Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto. We're talking about Mr. Bitcoin. What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts on Bitcoin is we're still in a bull market. I think the way that Bitcoin works is it usually works in 4-year cycles, which are around the Bitcoin halving. And after the Bitcoin halving, what you see is that the miner rewards are halved. So it means that less Bitcoin go into new circulation through the miners. And obviously there's only a 21 million number of Bitcoins that will ever be mined. So I think we're in a really good position with Bitcoin. The main thing about Bitcoin is when we go through these cycles, so the last halving was in May last year. And usually what we see is after the Bitcoin halving, usually have a few months play out. And then what you do is you get a kind of a supply scarcity that comes in. And what you've got to remember with Bitcoin is there's a lot of long-term holders. So myself, I've been in Bitcoin since about 2016, but there are a lot of people that have been in even longer to Bitcoin, and they're not selling their coins because things have gone up slightly. So you get that scarcity, and what happens is you have less and less on the market. And what we've seen last year is we've seen the approval of Bitcoin spot ETFs. And that was a massive thing, actually. And that was one of the biggest launches in history. And what that's allowed the market to do is it's allowed institutional investors, so people that would never be involved in Bitcoin previously, they just wouldn't have had the tools, the rails, the assets to be able to get into Bitcoin. Now they're able to do it very simply through the Bitcoin ETFs. And those are physically backed. So that means that every time you buy Bitcoin from BlackRock or Fidelity, etc., then it will go straight into, they will have to buy the equivalent amount of Bitcoin. So what that done is that caused a supply shortage, and we saw the price increase a lot in Bitcoin going into the end of 2024 into early 2025. So obviously that worked its way through. So there was a lot of inflows into Bitcoin. And then what we've seen in 2025 is around a new narrative around nation states buying Bitcoin. So that is a massive thing. We obviously saw Donald Trump on the campaign trail. He said that he wanted to set up a strategic Bitcoin reserve. That was really important for the markets. We saw the price drive up. And obviously, when he's now taken over, he has again announced that he's going to set up the strategic Bitcoin reserve and Bitcoin and altcoin stockpile. And I'll explain a little bit about that detail later, because that is slightly different to the Bitcoin strategic reserve. And one thing to note is he can actually put in place that at the moment in terms of the strategic reserve and keeping the coins that they might have confiscated from previous busts before, Silk Road and some other stuff that they acquired coins. But they're not able to actually buy any Bitcoin yet, anything that's going to cost the taxpayer money. So I think what we've seen a bit of a dip, because I think you know what it's like on X and other social media. People get very excited, and the strategic reserve, there's a bill in place as well that potentially US will buy 1 million Bitcoin over a 5-year period. But that hasn't been approved yet. So all of that has got to work its way through. So there's a Bitcoin committee now in the US government. And I think the markets have to be patient, because it's not something that the government can just buy 1 million Bitcoin straight off the bat without approvals from Congress, etc. So I do expect them to be able to buy Bitcoin sometime in 2025, but it might take a little bit of time. But I think the markets have just come to grips with that a bit, that it's not going to be immediate, and we've seen this pullback. But it's very normal in these Bitcoin cycles to have these pullbacks. So in a normal Bitcoin bull market in the 4-year cycle, we usually see about 5 to 7, 20, 25% drawdowns from the highs. So it's very normal to have these types of pullbacks, even in a bull market. So I don't think it's over. I think it's just pause. And also, just I want to add on to that as well, is that the Bitcoin cycle does overlap a lot with the liquidity cycle, in terms of similar to the stock market, etc. The more liquidity is in the market, the more likely it is that Bitcoin's going to go up, because as they print more and more money, it means hard assets generally rise in price. Yeah. So, and that also links with the 4-year presidential cycle as well. And just I don't know if it's coincidental or not, but the Bitcoin cycle, stock cycle, and also the election cycle, is basically at the same time. So they all overlap.
No, I get you. No, for sure. I saw a very interesting chart, which is just like the M2 money supply, the global money supply is expected to increase in 2025, with Europe increasing spending and potentially other countries having to increase spending in defense and many other sectors as well. We're gonna see that money supply continue to increase, and that's the defense that I think Bitcoin provides in this case, right?
It is, yeah, it is. So I'd say people like to correlate Bitcoin against the S&P 500 or the Nasdaq, and they say, well, the Nasdaq has gone down and Bitcoin's gone down, so therefore it's correlated. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think there are overlaps, because if there's a lack of liquidity in the market, that does affect the Nasdaq as well as it affects Bitcoin. But if you look at the correlations of the charts, you'll see the biggest correlation is the global M2 supply and the liquidity cycle. They're almost identical. There's a bit of a lag between them, but they're almost identical in pattern.
Okay. Now taking you a little bit out of the sort of like granddaddy and going into the prince of Bitcoin. That's how we like to call it in the channel. We're talking about Ethereum in this case. And like in this case, I want to understand, right? Because the thing is Ethereum hasn't behaved anything close to what it hasn't been the same behavior as previous cycles. And this is something that many people are asking is like, when are we going to see the rally? When are we going to see the rally? A lot of people are also saying that the altcoin season does not start until Ethereum pumps. Right, but it seems that Solana might have taken the hat, maybe the job of Ethereum in this case, at least for this altcoin season rally, right? Because we did see euphoria, we did see crazy moves in altcoins. But what are your thoughts on Ethereum? Let's just first Ethereum, and then we'll touch on Solana, right?
Yeah, sure. So Ethereum's had a bit of a difficult time as of late. I do hold quite a significant amount of Ethereum as well. But it has been a slightly disappointing bull market so far for Ethereum. Hasn't gone up as much as it would have in previous cycles. So what are the reasons why it hasn't gone up with previous cycles? Well, I think one of them is the fact that obviously Solana's the new kid on the block. We'll keep talking about Ethereum, but it is very important to know that Solana is taking up some of the market share that Ethereum would have had previously. So Ethereum's biggest advantage is it has the most amount of developers in the space. Yeah. So they have those network effects of having some of the greatest minds building projects on Ethereum. Some of those have gone over to Solana now, but they still have the biggest network base that there are. Another advantage they have is they also have an Ethereum ETF, which was approved also last year. And I think that's got a bit of a bad rap as well, because I think people are comparing it to Bitcoin and it doesn't have the same purpose, doesn't have the same reason to purchase as you would for Bitcoin, right? So it was still a very incredibly successful launch, but it paled compared with the Bitcoin launch, right? So again, another thing about Ethereum, while I think it's struggling over its competitors like Solana, is that you're seeing a lot of scalability issues. So Ethereum is very slow in building their projects. It took a long time for it to go from proof of work over to proof of stake. And that took a long time. And also they were expected to put in some scalability fixes as well into the network. In order, they were going to put in some different things such as sharding, which sharding is a way of speeding up the blockchain by fragmenting the blockchains into small pieces. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. And that's taken a long time for them to develop. And what we've seen, because the network is extremely slow, we've seen really high fees, on-chain fees. And when you have big on-chain fees, it discourages you from building on that network, right?
Or adoption too.
And adoption. Yeah. So for example, if I want to send you some Ethereum now, it's going to be very expensive for me to send you over some Ethereum, like especially on smaller payments. You might still do it on larger payments, but on smaller payments, I'm probably not going to send you Ethereum. I'm probably going to ask you if you accept something else, right? And also on-chain fees. So, for example, Ethereum aren't as big on these meme coins, etc., because the fees are too expensive to create a new coin and to work on chain like that. So. We've seen some delays on there. We've also seen some DeFi projects, etc., decentralized finance projects that have gone over to Solana and to other chains, Sui and some other chains as well. And that's just led to a bit of a dampening feeling on Ethereum. So I don't think Ethereum's dead. I don't think Solana is going to overtake Ethereum market cap anytime soon. But those are just some of the things why I think Ethereum has lost some of its market cap. But it's going to take a long time to catch the network effects that Ethereum has.
So let me.
Those
Sorry.
those institutional tools as well. Some of the other blockchains are also have applications in for ETFs as well, but Ethereum's is already approved.
So let me ask you this one question that I have, right? And the thing is like in my and this is like sort of my dumbness kind of coming in, and my lack of my ignorance kind of maybe taking center stage in this case. But my question is this, right? Like, what is the main use of Ethereum right now, right? So we have Bitcoin that is like potentially store of value, potentially like, we have this sort of like inflation and the devaluing of money, and this sort of like democratization of the ledger book that I'm fully backing in when it comes to Bitcoin. But when it comes to Ethereum, right? It's like the thing I know about Ethereum is that, okay, we can buy smart contracts and we can buy NFTs, which allows me to just be the owner of a link in chain, right? But what is the, like, if Ethereum had to have a rebranding, what would you say the purpose of Ethereum is, right?
Really good question. So I think it is the Internet of computers, and that sounds like a bit of jargon, which it is. But one of the things with Ethereum is that you can't really call it a store of value. You can't really call it money. Because there is some decentralized elements, but there's still a Ethereum foundation and lots of other things which takes away from its decentralization. It was also supposed to be deflationary as well, as they went from proof of work to proof of stake. Yeah, and that's not been the case. It started off being quite deflationary, but it's not particularly deflationary anymore. So you can't really call it a store of value, in my opinion. The fact that they've got so many developers and that they're so trusted, that they've been out there for a long time, and that they've very rarely had problems with the blockchain that hasn't gone down. Solana has been moving really fast, right? But they've also been breaking things at the same time, right? So sometimes Solana goes down. So there's that trust element with it. There's also the fact that it has a lot of developers. So with that trust element, you're probably much more likely to do things such as DeFi on Ethereum than you would be on other chains, because one, they have the most developers, they have the most products, etc. on Ethereum. But yeah, you're much more likely to do that on Ethereum, in my opinion. There are some services on Solana and some other stuff, but you've kind of got that long-term trust and decentralization of Ethereum. Other stuff, which you require things to be a bit faster, you're probably less likely to do on Ethereum. So I probably wouldn't be building games on Ethereum, like GameFi, and putting in the back rails for GameFi, for example, on Ethereum. I don't think that's a good use case of Ethereum. So what I'm trying to say is I'm still bullish on Ethereum, but what I would say is there is diminishing use cases. Okay. So unless they can increase the speed, lower the cost of transactions, etc., I think that chains such as Solana, Sui, other layer ones are likely to start to erode the market cap.
Okay, let me touch to you on another point, because you said Internet of Computers, right? But like the way that I sort of saw Ethereum was more in the sense of sort of the Internet of money. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like it was kind of like the promise that Ethereum brought to the table was the innovation, right, of money, smart contracts. I'm able to just buy a house with my Ethereum, and then it's just going to be all of my networking and all my financials and everything, which was like the idea with the NFTs. It was like all of a sudden you were the owner, and there was proof that you were the owner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that never meant
that comes back to the trust thing that I was saying. So
yeah.
You're much more likely to implement a smart contract on Ethereum than you would be on other chains, just because of how long it's been going and how many different smart contracts contracts that have
Yeah.
already been processed.
There seems to be this joke in the community, in the Ethereum community, that is like Ethereum is the account, like big money and accountants go to Ethereum to do their innovation,
Yeah.
and then they like the new projects. Well, we're going to talk about next, right? Because I want to get your view on Solana as well, and then potentially Cardano, and kind of understand what sort of like the innovation has been there. What have you seen there?
In which ones?
Solana.
Solana, yeah. Yeah. So if we compare the two, right? So Ethereum has gone very slow and methodical on trying to build up this trust in the network, right? So they haven't had any outage, they haven't had any downtime, etc. Solana, on the other hand, has been work fast and break things, right? So they've had various instances where there's been downtime on the network. Things haven't processed, etc. And at some stages, the Solana network got extremely busy, right? But from day one, they said, look, we're going to focus on being the fastest blockchain. And if we compare that again to Ethereum have had to rely on what in the industry they call layer twos, right? So layer twos are a way of working on Ethereum, but faster than the base chain can cope with. Solana, you can do it all on the base chain because it's extremely fast. It's not, the network isn't clogged, etc. Yeah. So they've been looking. I would say Solana is the eye of innovation. So I was very early in Solana, to be honest with you. So I heard a lot about Solana from the very start, and everybody was buzzing in the industry before they even released the token. So I got in very early. I think I was in 80 cents or something on Solana originally. And mainly that was because of the promise of innovation. So the innovation has been extremely fast on Solana. So you've seen many things from DeFi to GameFi. We've also seen meme coins take off like crazy on Solana in 2024. And meme coins are mostly all around the Solana network at the moment, because there's platforms such as Radium, etc., that operate on the Solana blockchain, and they allow you to be able to not only create these meme coins, but also trade them. So that's obviously been a big use cases. There's also oracles as well, which have been built on Solana, such as the Pith network and a few others. So I would say all those things that you promised, you were saying that was for Ethereum, are over on Solana right now. They don't quite have the they don't quite have the developers that Ethereum has, but that's increasing every single day, to be honest with you. So I think Solana's eating their lunch a little bit at the moment.
Okay, perfect. One thing that you mentioned, oracles. Can you just expand a little bit on that? I've never heard that. So
yeah, so it's just a way of aggregating the prices on exchanges. So, for example, Chainlink is another example of a oracle. Yeah, but Chainlink is on the Ethereum blockchain. Pith network is Solana's